Hi and welcome to the Design YouTube channel. My name is Axel and this video is part of a webinar series on art and creativity. Enjoy the video. I want to share with you a drawing exercise which helps you draw forms better in perspective, builds your visual library, and overall makes you a stronger and more capable artist. This drawing approach and exercise is called Analytical Drawing. Analytical drawing refers to constructing objects and other forms using a combination of different primitive forms. Primitive forms, those are boxes, cylinders, etc. We can use analytical drawing to understand the form of an object and draw it from various angles with and without the help of references. So by properly understanding what we're drawing, we can actually draw it. And since we want to be able to draw it from different angles, draw it in perspective, don't have to rely on extra tools such as excessive amounts of references or 3D blockouts, well, trying this drawing exercise might be the right thing for you. One of the big challenges of sketching from imagination is a lack of knowledge about the subject matter we want to draw. Only if we know and understand it, we can draw it confidently. And hopefully this exercise is also going to help with this issue. Analytical drawing is one method to build our visual library. And for anyone who doesn't know what the visual library is, it is an internal collection of visual knowledge and references accumulated over time. So how does a hand look like? What kinds of armors do we know and we want to draw? Maybe what does a mug look like? A table, a chair, anything really that we can imagine and draw. And the more we practice and draw and look at things and experience life, the bigger our visual library is going to be. A large visual library can make it easier for artists to come up with believable designs and scenes. This can be particularly helpful when sketching and exploring ideas. The bigger the library, the more we can mix, match and play with ideas. So at the beginning, if we haven't really practiced a lot, if we're new to drawing, our visual library is going to be tiny, super small, but with time, the more we sketch, the more we look at things, the bigger this visual library is going to grow. And that means that small details, little designs and features that we might have overlooked at the beginning of our art journey are now going to become a lot more interesting, and we can use those and make designs more interesting and more believable. So experienced artists will have an easier time just coming up with cool things out of nowhere because, well, they have a huge visual library already. By learning how to construct the 3D form of an object, we will have an easier time visualizing and drawing the object from different angles. We don't need to rely on references with the exact viewing angle. This helps us to solidify information in our visual library. So by just looking at a photo or looking at what we have around us, it's going to be pretty hard for us to remember exactly what that form looks like, especially from different angles. So if we practice drawing it from different angles, well, then we're going to remember its features a lot more than otherwise. The most important part of analytical drawing are actually the building blocks. In order to construct objects confidently, we need to understand and practice primitive forms. They are the building blocks of any object. So whatever you want to draw, whatever you imagine or want to be able to construct, can construct, you always are going to deal with these types of primitive forms, and they include boxes, spheres, cylinders, and cones. Obviously, they're extremely simplified, but any object you can imagine, you can essentially simplify into those kinds of primitive forms or their variations. So, modified boxes, modified cylinders, or modified cones. Primitive forms can represent almost anything. By practicing them, we exercise our ability to draw 3D forms without the distractions of details, textures, or values. So by simplifying overall the subject matter of what we want to practice, since, well, our goal is to practice to draw something in 3D from any angle, from imagination, we don't want to distract ourselves or be blinded by all the other cool things that we could also do, such as cool lighting, cool textures, cool patterns. There's so much that we could also practice. But for now, we have to move them aside so we can focus on those simple building blocks, the simple construction first. Anything that we remove in this process can be added later. We can reintroduce details and light and colors to our drawing, to our artwork, once we've solidified and properly constructed the subject matter. Another really cool tool that we can use in order to be more confident in our ability to draw or create the 3D illusion is the wireframe. Drawing the wireframe of a form helps us visualize the volume. The goal is to see and understand the form of an object on the 2D surface of a canvas. Creating this illusion is not an easy feat, but it is a crucial skill to develop for concept artists and illustrators. So the whole idea is we want to create this illusion of 3D form on a 2D canvas, so other people will have an easier time understanding and recreating our ideas. For instance, as a concept artist, you're going to create a lot of designs that later on 3D artists are going to take and create 3D models out of. If they don't understand your ideas, your sketches, and the designs that you've set up, well, they're going to have a very difficult time creating something that is faithful to your ideas. So you're going to make their lives a lot easier by being very clear about what the form or what the design is supposed to look like in 3D space. Drawing that confidently is one of the goals of the exercise of analytical drawing. One of the big challenges artists face is that if they don't know something, they can't draw it. By actively studying a subject matter, we can add it to our visual library. This will make it a lot easier to change and amend it to fit our creative projects. So only if we know how something looks like through the use of references, through experience, through studying it consciously, we have a solid and thorough understanding of what that form actually is. References are vital in this creative process. They provide the information we lack and help us create believable scenes and designs. And here I have a great example of that. A while ago I did this sketch of a bunch of owls, and at that point, well, I didn't know much about owls, so I had to look up a lot of references and I had to read up on them. Well, how large are they? What kind of behavior do they have? What does their anatomy look like? And obviously look for references that help me understand the form and the function of their design. And through these references, I was able to essentially deduct, well, how could an owl in a different position look like in my sketch? So as you can see, none of the owls sketched here resembles one-to-one the references that I have shared here. And that is because the references are not there to be copied, they're there to kind of fill in the gaps of my knowledge. When it comes to the feathers, when it comes to the face of the owl, when it comes to the legs, when it comes to the overall possible movement and motion, all these kinds of things, especially if you're not that knowledgeable on the subject matter, references can help you solve this issue. Now, what makes a good reference? First and foremost, clear information. Do we see and understand what's being shown? Pixelated, bad quality, bad lighting, all those things are not really helpful when it comes to kind of giving us clear information for the design that we want to draw. So besides clear information, high resolution images are super helpful. Finer details are visible and easy to understand. And obviously proper lighting. Even lighting ensures important information is visible. On the other hand, you have to differentiate between references for the design of objects, for instance, and references for lighting. There, strong lighting, harsh lighting, unusual lighting can actually be a benefit because your focus is learning how does that lighting setup look like. But in this case, for analytical drawing, we are looking for references that have clear and even lighting, so we understand the form and design a lot better. Multiple angles and views are also great, but more optional. Essentially, what does something look like from behind or below? Unfortunately, for a lot of designs and objects, there aren't really multiple photos of each object available, so sometimes we have to make educated guesses. Extra research can help to strengthen our understanding. Learn about the function, history, and other contextual information. This can also help inform our design decisions. If we don't find different angles of a subject matter we want to learn, we can look for references similar to our subject and make an educated guess. If we look at the canon here, we can see why that's an interesting canon, but maybe there are gonna be photos of a similar but not the exact same canon somewhere with a different angle. That's going to be super helpful because across all the canon designs there are going to be similarities that are going to be pretty much the same. So we can take information from one reference, from one canon, and apply it to information that we gained from a different reference of a different canon. We've talked a lot about references, visual library, primitive forms. Now, what does the process actually look like? The approach to analytical drawing varies from artist to artist, but the goal is the same: simplifying and constructing. So don't worry about one-to-one following the process of one demonstration or the other. You're going to have your personal flair to solving visual problems, so I wouldn't worry too much about how do other people go about solving it. You can obviously be inspired and be informed by how other artists solve visual problems, but in the end, you don't have to follow them one-to-one. Essentially, figure out a way that works best for you personally. Now, first and foremost, when we break the subject down into the primitive forms it is made up of. Blocking out the forms helps us see the largest and most prominent forms to keep in mind. The blockout is the most important step in the drawing process. We analyze the major forms of our subject matter. Adding secondary forms and details depends on the believability of the blockout. That means that if the base blockout of cylinders and boxes and whatnot, if there are perspective issues, if there are major drawing issues, any amount of detail drawn on top is going to look off, and we're going to have a really hard time creating a believable and visually interesting drawing. Small details and visually interesting features can be added last. These could include shadow shapes, which reflect the look of the subject matter. So whatever visual element you notice is going to be crucial to create a believable and faithful rendition of the element that you want to draw can be added last, alongside obviously all the other elements constructed properly. Often, drawing issues stem from issues with simple forms in perspective. It might make sense to take a step back and practice drawing primitive forms to speed up the learning process. I've noticed this in my own learning journey. That is that by just focusing on drawing from reference and trying to study, I've completely overlooked the actual drawing issues that I was struggling with. And those were my inability to properly draw in perspective. So by going back and actually practicing primitive forms, drawing boxes, cylinders, and cones for instance, mostly boxes and cylinders to be honest, I solved these issues individually, and when I went back to practicing to draw something from reference and then later from imagination, I had a much easier time because now the drawing problems that I had with drawing forms in perspective were gone. The same subject can then be drawn from a different angle. References can be handy tools to remind us of the existence and placement of certain features and details. Keep in mind, the new angle should not be present in any of the references available to us. That's the challenge for us. The challenge is to visualize and construct without directly copying. When we visualize, we have to really think about, well, what form is placed in front of what form, especially when we try to draw it, let's say, the other way around, not as we see it in the reference, right? We have to imagine how those forms kind of are stacked together like building blocks. And by doing that, we actively engage with what we want to draw. We imagine it, we have to think properly, so we can't copy, we can't just take what we see one-to-one. And what that does is it really kind of burns the information about the subject matter into our brain, so we can recall it later and then obviously draw it from any angle. Drawing an object from various angles solidifies our understanding of form and design and makes it easier to recall from imagination later. In combination with references, we can develop the ability to draw anything from imagination. Alright, let's have a look at the actual drawing process. I've chosen a reference of a pair of boots, and I've actually found multiple angles for this particular reference, but mostly I've been focusing on the first reference to be informed by. I've drawn a bounding box on top of the reference, as well as traced the major shapes of the shoe, so I have a better idea of how the form might be constructed in 3D space. I'm redrawing the bounding box next to it and construct the shoe within it. I'm using fairly simple lines, I don't want to be too elaborate, and overall I'm trying to kind of forego any details. A center line is going to be super helpful to orient myself in terms of where I want certain features to be placed in 3D space. On top of the blue sketch, I can then draw a more final sketch on top. Again, keep in mind this is just an exercise, so I'm not really worried too much about line quality or perfect detail replication. I want to be able to understand and replicate the 3D form of that object. If I want to recreate the fine details of such a shoe, I would rely on references a lot more. Drawing the 3D form without reference is the primary goal for this exercise. Next, I'm essentially now drawing the shoes from a different angle. There's no reference directly that informs me now. I'm essentially using the bounding box as a guideline, so I know from which angle I'm looking at the shoes from. And then I'm again referring back to the first set of drawings that I did, as well as the references, to see, right, which kinds of forms am I looking at, how are they constructed, how can I simplify them, what do I need to pay attention to. This approach ensures that I have to properly think about the shoes and their form in 3D space. I can't omit any important information, or else the shoe is going to look off, it's not going to look believable, it's not going to look like it is in 3D space. And since I don't have direct reference, I can't just guess it. I need to have properly understood the 3D form of it. And by doing this kind of exercise over and over and with different references, I can actually build a very solid visual library and use those to then sketch these objects or characters or creatures from imagination. A great exercise or challenge would actually be to take an object every day and draw it following the analytical drawing approach. After a year, you'll have practiced and memorized 365 new objects that you can then draw confidently from imagination. So this might be something to try out if you have some time on your hand. Alright, that's it. I hope this presentation was informative. Try out this drawing exercise and see if you can use it and integrate it into your daily practice. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Links to resources, courses and the Discord community are in the description. Take care.